Welcome to New Tracks Live. New Tracks Live is the weekly meetup of the New Tracks modeling community that provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for the live meetup. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page, where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com to register to receive Zoom links for the weekly meetup and get more modeling information. And now, here is the host of tonight's New Tracks Live, Phil Edholm.
Welcome to New Tracks Live for February 4th. New Tracks Live is part of the New Tracks Mentoring. New Tracks Mentoring Inc. Does two things. We do mentoring for model railroaders. We have the community of model railroaders, about 1,500 now on our Facebook group, that mentor each other and share techniques and work together to build great models. In addition to New Tracks Mentoring side of things, we have the New Tracks Scholarship, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This year, we're going to do 3 $2,500 scholarships. Very exciting. New Tracks was founded by Jim Kello about 6 years ago, and really has been dedicated to bringing model railroaders together in a virtual community to work together to build better models. Our show, we have actually two groups of sponsors. You can see on the screen here our platinum sponsors. Brennan's Model Railroading is a key sponsor, and so I'd like to hear a little video about Brennan's Model Railroading.
New Tracks thanks Brennan's Model Railroading for being a 2026 Diamond sponsor of New Tracks Mentoring. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering products focused on the O-scale market. Brennan's focuses on landscape materials and craftsman kits. Brennan's Better Ballast is a prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite, and Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's craftsman kits are designed to deliver great results that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits take Ellison's Scratchbuilt iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
Thanks to Brennan's Model Railroading for sponsoring tonight's show. With that, I'd like to go ahead and talk a little bit about our agenda for this evening. We have an exciting set of segments to go through this evening. First, Doc Lovelace, who's our N-scale aficionado, has invited Tyrone Trotter to come and show us his layout. And I've seen the videos and photos of Tyrone's layout, and I have to say it's very, very unique and somewhat different than what we normally see, where we see layouts that try to slavishly recreate the real world. It's a little bit different in the perspective, but nevertheless a great model railroad. Craig Vietch, who is our modeler from Down Under, is going to show us tonight how he built a metal footbridge, Scratchbuilt a metal footbridge for his layout. And that's a really great project to build, and how he put that together. And one of those things for those of you who are scratch building, an excellent opportunity to build something other than a traditional car or a building. It's a unique piece of trackside equipment that we see on virtually every railroad around the country. We're going to have a layout tour. This is Jerry and Sue McCormack's Denver and Rio and Western. This is another layout from the NNGC 25. Thanks to Tom Sherrill and Jeff and Rich for helping us put that together. And finally, in keeping with our kind of caboose focus of the past few weeks, Steve Bittinger is going to give us a talk about his caboose memories from the Western Maryland Railroad. So that's a really exciting program, I think, for this evening, and something that I hope everybody really enjoys. Before we get started, would like to just thank our NTMI Platinum sponsors. As you all know, New Tracks Mentoring Inc. is the 501c3 that actually operates both this live program and our other activities, as well as the scholarship. And we'll talk, like I said, later about the scholarship. You can see here our platinum and bronze sponsors for this year. So with that, the last thing I'd like to do before we get started is put up once again, we do very much look for each of you to take your shot to be a New Tracks mentor. I feel very much everyone has something to contribute. Everyone has a model they've built that they can talk about, a skill they know that they can share. Mentoring is all about teaching each other together. It's not about one person doing it. It's about all of us doing it together. So if you have something you'd like to do a 15-minute segment on how you weather buildings, how you paint things, how you put a motor into a locomotive, how you install the decoder. Just go ahead and either click on the QR code, or you can use the little tiny URL, NTM Present. There's a little form there, just put your name in, and then I'll contact you and we'll get you set up to come and talk on the meetup on a Wednesday at some point in the future. With that, we're actually going to start our program for tonight. The first thing up tonight is our N-scale focus, and our N-scale segment is actually sponsored by National Trains, and we're going to go ahead and run a little short video about them. They're a great shop on the East Coast.
National Capital Trains is the largest supplier of N-scale modeling products in the state of Virginia. We have been in business since 1989. We carry a full line of modeling products, specializing in N and HON3 scales. We carry a large selection of competitively priced high-quality N-scale products from Atlas, Bachmann, Digitrax, Intermountain, Cato, Microtrains, NCE, Pico, Rapido, Soundtracks, as well as brass. For foreign railroad train aficionados, we offer a wide selection of Japanese and European prototype trains. We are located 20 miles from Washington, D.C. in Springfield, Virginia. We are a short 7-minute drive off Interstate 95. Stop in and see us for the best in N-scale. We also have online ordering on our website, including great prices and expert advice. Call us for your N-scale modeling needs and advice. Use the QR code to visit our website. We look forward to serving you.
I have to say, I'm very envious of you that live on the East Coast and have lots of train shops. As many of you know, I live in the Bay Area, and we're down to 2 train shops, and neither of them, I don't think, are doing all that well. So it's great to see those of you that have access to a great train shop to be able to get the model railroading materials you need close to home. So with that, I'd like to introduce Doc Lovelace. Doc actually is our N-scale aficionado and talks about N-scale, and he has a really exciting program for us tonight. We have a guest with us, and I'm going to go ahead and bring Tyrone on and introduce him as well. Tyrone Trotter is an N-scaler, and I'm going to let you guys talk for a little while, and then we've got some videos and some images of Tyrone's layout, which I thought was really cool because it's a very different take on model railroading than kind of my take has been. And I find it really cool to see that different view and also to see how neat the results are. So with that, guys, I'll let you go ahead and get going.
Thank you, brother. I'm happy to be here and happy to introduce somebody that I've now considered a friend through the model railroading community. I came across Tyrone actually probably about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more, when I was researching how I could make proper in-scale New York City subway cars. And that was the first video of his that I saw. Reached out to him. He gave me tons of great advice on how to do that and how he transformed his. And then I also learned that he, or at least in the videos that I saw initially, those were taken when he had a apartment layout. So he was in a rented space. It was modular. He did it on what I call, what I guess what we've come to call church tables, but the little fold out, hard plastic tables that can just be moved around and transferred easily. But he built something really, really wonderful on it. So just to introduce him a little bit, he's 56 years old. I'm sorry, 58 years old. 58 years old. He's from Paris, California, is where he lives now. It's just right outside of LA. He was originally born in LA, kind of in the Long Beach area, he says. Been modeling for 25 years now. And he got started as a child with RC planes, but he actually had a Tyco HO train set when he was younger that he still owns and possesses today. And to me, that is quite an accomplishment to hold on to something for so long and still have it. And that just goes to show you the type of person he is. His first layout, like I said, was in a 2-bedroom apartment in LA. Very much modular, as it is today, that you'll see. And he chose N-scale as a result of that, same reason that I do. One interesting thing about him is he actually is also a Lego fan, Lego builder, Lego collector, and he has implemented some of those elements into his layout, which you will see here in a minute, as far as structural, and even something even bigger that you'll see in just a second. And he has also told me that, because of course I asked, what would be your favorite or your best way that you think that we could reach youth in the hobby? And he said what I expected, which is YouTube, and of course train shows. But YouTube right now is really hitting it. So with that, if Tyrone, if you want to say something before we get started, or we'll start with the videos and just let you talk, brother.
How you doing, fellas? My name is I'm Tyrone from California. Like you said, I'm from the Paris, California area, around about 40 miles away from Los Angeles. I've been in a hobby for like a while, and I chose N-scale because it's a smaller scale and you can do a lot with it and everything. I loved trains when I was little, and my parents bought me a Tyco set called I think I still have it here. I think it was called the Bullet. It was the Bullet, the Tyco Bullet train. So I still have it with me and everything. Yeah. And I love trains. I love N-scale. I love going to the conventions and everything. And like to say, Doc, thank you for letting me join today, and everybody can see what I'm into and everything.
Thank you, brother. And Phil, let's the interest of time, let's get those going. We can start with the first video whenever you're ready. So as we watch this, Tyrone, just kind of tell everybody what we're seeing here. I'll shut up and you just kind of tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, guys, right here is my N-scale carnival set. Most of the kits are 3D printed, and some of them are kits that I bought years ago, and they all work in 3 volts with a control module I can lower the speed down. And some of the kits are faller, and some of them are faller, and I think yeah, most of them fall, like the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel is working in everything. And I have it's all N-scale and everything. And some of the kits I had for years. So when I finally got my bigger place, I went ahead and did an amusement park on the layout and everything. So all the rides are all mechanical working and everything. You know, you can see and everything. And I got a little train going around with the little people sitting inside the cars and everything. So that's part of my layout, the little in-scale carnival section, even though I got a little small 3D printed bumper cars, the cars moving and everything. And I bought that kit in Italy, out of the country. That kit cost me around about like 160, took me around about a week to build and everything, you know. So that's the I kind of enjoyed that carnival ride right there, the bumper cars. Yeah.
Looks like you've got a roller coaster there, but is that railroad track you used for the roller coaster?
Yes, right now I'm in the process of building a roller coaster, but I'm using Z-scale track and with the Z-scale trucks for the roller coaster and everything, you know, yeah. Now this video right here, I'm running all CXX locomotives. I've got a CXX yard with a Tropicana yard, and I'm running a Japanese subway commuter cars, but I kind of made them Americanized New York City subway cars. I painted the front end silver. My wife added the graffiti on it with the toothpicks and everything. So that's all her work there and everything. Yeah.
That's hand painted?
Hand painted by toothpick. Yeah. So yeah, my wife's the artist and everything, so she did all that and everything. So here's my Tropicana yard, you know. I got 4 builders made by, I think, DPI. I think it's DPI. I went ahead, glued them together, made a long Tropicana yard. Got the Tropicana cars and everything, you know. Yeah. Tropicana cars made by, yeah. And we got another video here with the CXX locomotive pulling the tankers, going around through now those apartments in the background, those tall buildings back there, that's my little project ghetto area. Yeah.
Low rent, high rise housing.
Yeah, that's the ghetto area. Yeah. In fact, I'm afraid to work on that area. I'm afraid they might get shot over there. No, but yeah, that's my little ghetto part area and everything. I got the little homies on the corner, you know, gangbangers laying around and everything, you know. Yeah. I named that after my grandmother, the Enrichment Housing Units. Yeah.
I never knew that. All right.
Yeah. Grandma, you know, yeah, she passed away a long time ago. So I talked to the fam. My fam know I'm into model railroad. And I say, man, I want to do something for grandma. So I called my little project area the Enrichment Housing Units. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So Phil, let's go to the next one real quick because there's another little short video I wanted to show you guys. This is a faller system, vehicle system that he installed in an in-scale layout. I have seen MagnaRail plenty of times, but it's not every day you see the faller system. What can you tell us about that, Tyrone? Was it easy to do?
Yeah, it's very easy. What I did, fellas, like I said, my layout on plastic folding tables, and what I did, fellas, I went ahead and laid the wire down. You know, I taped the wire down real good and put the construction paper on top. So the faller car system, they have the front suspension with the magnet. With the magnet on the front. And what that suspension does, it follows the wire around the layout and everything, you know, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I did there and everything, you know, yeah. So that was made by the faller car system. Yeah, now I used the wire for the faller car system, but the vehicles are made by a Japanese company called Tomitech. Yeah, now these vehicles, they take the small I think the small watch batteries in that little system and everything. So basically the vehicles probably run maybe around about, like I say, around about between 40 to 50 minutes, and then they start slowing down. Yeah. But the faller car system, you can plug it up, charge the battery up, and I think you get maybe like the same amount of time, 45 to 50 minutes running time. Yeah. Yeah, but the cauliflower system was kind of expensive, so I went with the Japanese company. It was called by Tomy Tech. It was called I think the moving bus system. And I went ahead and made my own little customized my little vehicles for the system be able to fit inside the trucks and everything. Yeah. Now this is my N-scale freeway there. Oh, we go back there. Sorry. Okay, yes,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, the
right there.
parking.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
this is the actually that area is the ghetto area. I just took the buildings off when I ran the wire going through the follow car system going through the ghetto area. You know, yeah. I got a little school, I did a little school bus. So actually I just took the buildings out. I can finish, go ahead, added the my wires and stuff and everything. You know, yeah, the bus go around through the ghetto, underneath the freeway, and come back around and everything. Yeah,
Yeah, the cars move really smoothly across that.
yeah.
That's really nice. Do you all right, well, Phil, let's go ahead and switch to some of the stills and he can run us through some of the different parts of the layout that we haven't seen yet.
Now this right here is upstairs. My room is around about 25 by 45 feet wide. So that's downtown, the up I call that the financial district. I got a lot of high rise there. Some of the buildings are Atlas high rise kits. I mean you can still find them on eBay, but I think they are discontinued. And some of the buildings are actually they are basically plastic baskets. What I did, I stacked them on top of each other with those two little white buildings with the bridge going across. Those actually baskets I got at a store called Daiso. And I made a nice high-rise building, and it came out good. And I don't know if you guys can notice the building in the black is kind of slanted going down. That's an old CD rack. So I made that into a high-rise building too. And the other one in the background, where it looked like a construction site, that's an old CD rack too. So I made that one to a high-rise building under construction. Yeah, so I did that around about 10 years ago and everything. Yeah. So some of the kits are Scratchbuilt and some of them are CD racks and plastic baskets, and some of them are model kits, but I bought like more than 5 kits and stacked them on top of each other, made taller high-rise buildings.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you those the basket ones, the white buildings, I mean, to me, I would believe those are baskets, but the sky bridge that you built in between it really sells it. It really
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
sells it for me. We can go to
yeah,
the
but
next
that's
one.
yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
I think there's another one of that actually. Oh, well, this is
And then,
your controller pack. Now, just what are you running? You running DCC, DC?
okay, now this is my airport tram yard. The
Okay.
background is my airport. That took me 6 years to build. It's made of Legos, exactly in scale, and the roof opened up. The way I built it, the rooftop opened up, and you can see like a mall inside with all the shopping stores and everything. Sorry, Doc, I should have sent you pictures of that, but I've forgotten everything. Yeah, but
We always got next month. It's okay.
okay, cool, yeah. And so these controllers right here, they control the tram going through the airport tram yard through the city of the layout through the financial district area.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Next slide, Phil. All right. So
That's
here's more of that airport. And
yes, yeah.
I just wanted you guys to see just there's a couple more that shows the detail too that he did. But I mean, I know it's Legos. I know that's a little different, but it's to scale. And
Yes, sir.
it's so well done, in my opinion. It's so well done.
Yeah. Now, Doc, now the freeway, I just added that on this week. Yeah. I was watching some airport videos and everything on YouTube, and I was like, wow, man, I don't know which airport it was though, but they had a part of the freeway extending going to the airport, and that's what I went ahead and did. I'm not done yet, so I went ahead and used the Cato, the double track Vital track, took the track out and making the freeway going all the way across through the subway yard, through the ghetto area to the other side of the freeway. So I'm in the
And
process of working on that now. Yes.
I see a tram yard running underneath that as well, and a
Yeah.
little engine house for the trams. You've got quite a collection of trams there, I see.
Yeah. That's what I was telling you. That was the airport tram yard. So,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
So
Well,
all the
Phil,
tram, yeah.
next slide, Phil. Another shot of that. Okay.
Yeah. That's the entrance of the airport with the big old giant world globe. The
I
tram
see
stop
that.
underneath underneath the tram stop, and they can walk across, go to the airport and everything. Yes.
All right. Next slide. All right.
And that,
Now here, this
yeah.
was really cool, but I thought that I saw that you were working on some new versions of these airport terminals. Is that correct? Or
Yes. Now these are the jetways, and the planes are
yeah.
exactly 1 in 160 scale in scale. A lot of people think the planes are 1 in 200 scales. Nah. It's a company called Ally Express. It's a Japanese company, and they sell 1 in 160 jumbo jets between like $100 and 149 everything. So yeah, so a lot of people keep telling me that, oh man, those are 1/200 scale. Nah. These exactly 1 in 160 scale, and I have one in 150 scale. So that's kind of close to in scale, but most of them are 1 in 160 scale. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right,
Yeah.
Phil, next slide.
And
All
this
right.
is my
So
sub.
now look at this, guys. I mean, look at this. He basically converted and hand painted each one of these subway cars to represent the New York City Transit line. I mean, when I saw this, I was thoroughly impressed. So tell
Yeah.
us about that a little bit. Give us a little bit about the different lines, how you did it.
Um. All the subway cars have different lines, like in New York City, line A, B, C, line A, going to different places and everything. But like I said earlier, fellas, these are the Japanese commuter trains. What I did, I went ahead, painted some of them silver, the front part that you can see, maybe see the little alphabets in front of the subway cars and everything. And my wife did the graffiti with toothpicks and everything. So that's the subway yard. But now I think I might get rid of these, Doc, because I think Rapido are making some, I think the Chicago subway cars, those are much more detailed. I think I seen them on the internet that Rapido be supposed to be making some in-scale subway cars. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and get those and replace those with these right here and everything. Yeah, eventually and everything. Yeah.
Well, if you've got the
Yeah.
patience and the time, do it. Hey, just something random I didn't notice earlier. Why are a couple of those vehicles upside down?
Oh, okay. Now, okay. Reason why they're upside down, because um yeah, why did I put them upside? Oh, because I added the Digitrack decoder underneath them. That I want to make sure that I didn't have duplicate numbers when I'm running them all DCC. Yeah, they are
Okay.
DCCC. Yeah.
I
So I
got
had
you.
to
All right.
I had to put a little piece of paper to tape it underneath to let me know that which number what they was and everything. Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So here you can see all the
Yeah.
different the numbers
Yeah.
you were talking about for the different lines. That's cool.
Yeah, fellas. So that's what I did. I took the front part, I painted the silver, I added the black, and I added the little numbers for the number lines up in New York and everything. You know, like
Excellent.
yeah, CBD number 8,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, so that's the subway train yard. It's all in scale, guys. Yeah,
All right. Next slide,
yeah.
Phil. All right, some more of
Okay,
that. What we got
okay,
here?
yeah. This is I think the background, that's the in scale the subway car wash. At the end of the day,
Okay.
when the trains come in and they scrape all the graffiti off. Yeah, so that's my little car wash. The little brushes go through and everything, pretend like it's cleaning up the train and everything, man. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, next slide.
And
All
this is
right.
my CXX yard with the sanding tower. I'm running all CXX locomotives, yeah. All Cato and Atlas only, yeah.
All right, so this is a good point, good part to ask this question that I always wanted to ask you. Do you plan on fully detailing everything, kind of rusting things, weathering things, adding maybe ground foam, ground material, plants, shrubs, everything like that? If or do you plan on just keeping it brand new out of the box? What
My
are your plans for
eventual
the future?
Yeah, my plans for the future, I'm gonna be detailing buildings. I'm gonna go ahead put the sand on my CX6 yard. I'm gonna do all that and everything. In fact, Doc, I just added the CX6 yard maybe like a month and a half ago because I wasn't interested in no diesel locomotives until I met a friend. I think he's in Detroit, Michigan. His name is Gary Smith. And what happened? I'm gonna tell you what happened. Reason why I got into it. I went to a moms and pops hobby shop out here where I left in California, and they had a N-scale DCC locomotive. And I wasn't gonna get it, but something told me to go ahead and get it, and they wanted $85 for it, and it was a Conrail. So I brought it home, and I started up. The bells whistled, the locomotive. I felt in love. Yeah, because at first I was only running subway cars and trams only. But when I got that first locomotive for $80 at the mums and pop shop and everything, I was gonna walk away from it, but someone told me to go ahead and get it. I felt in love, man. So now I like locomotives with the DCC sounds and everything, man.
It's wonderful,
Yeah.
man. It'll give you a whole new element, in which to model and
Yes.
probably make you have twice as much fun.
Yes, sir.
All right, next slide, Phil. All right, so these are those
Not
buildings, guys, that he's calling the
the,
projects. But
the ghetto
these are
area.
just, yeah, these are just, I mean, literally just boxes or what you call tubs that he got from a hardware shop.
Yeah.
And I mean, seamlessly put them together. I mean, I honestly think with a little bit of weathering and everything, these will, I mean, they are believable as is for N scale, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're almost the right length for the windows too, apart from each other. It's very, very close.
Yes, yeah. That's one thing I do, Doc. When I look for baskets and stuff, I keep a little in-scale guy in my wallet in a plastic bag. And then when I look at baskets, I take the little guy out and see that would it be more realistic, from the floors and everything, yeah. Yeah.
I thought
So
I was in scale. You are in
yeah,
scale. You have an in scale guide you carry around in your wallet.
in my little wallet, little plastic bag,
I
yeah.
love it. All right, you're gonna have to send me one of those. All right, next
Yeah.
slide, Phil.
This is like the downtown area, traffic area. A lot of cars and everything, people walking around. Yeah,
You've
that's
got
it,
some good looking cars. I see a lot of those that you can purchase on AliExpress. But tell me about this. There's a taxi cab on the far right. Did you hand decal those taxi checks in it, or did that
No,
come
no,
like that?
no, man. Back in the day, Atlas made those. Those are the Atlas
Okay.
taxi cabs came out maybe like I think in 2016. Yeah.
Okay.
Atlas made those in-scale taxi cab in 2016. Yeah. So I went
All
ahead
right.
and bought maybe like 20 boxes of them and everything, and just saved them up and everything. And yeah, so now I got them all around in my city and everything. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody's wondering too, that there's an area of your layout that looks like Godzilla has
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
what's so is
Yeah.
that just another fun, whimsical element that you add to the modeling?
Uh, what happened? I wanted a little small damaged area on my layout and everything. I didn't I see the picture of that one? We can go to
Yeah,
that
I'm sure
slide.
I think there's another one, but I mean, I don't know about small damage. That honestly looks like the Hulk came through and ripped
Okay,
everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I put I made a little area in my city, like a 2 blocks. A lot of buildings are damaged up and everything.
I
Yeah.
love what you did though. If you look closely, each floor, it almost looks like the insulation and the wiring from each floor is dropping down. I
Yes.
know the building didn't come like that. That's something you added, which is a nice
Yeah,
touch.
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen
yeah. I
people
like
do
that.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people do these before and they didn't have that detail in it. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next slide. All right. So
Yeah.
this is part of the tram.
Yes, yeah, yeah, this is a part of tram over there by the behind the financial district and everything. Yes, that's one of the tram stop and everything. Yeah. So that black
And
building in the background, that's the Atlas high-rise building. Now those came out. I think those came out in 1980. I think because I looked at it when I first got into model railroad. I seen the old model railroad magazine. It was 1980, and then I think that's when those high rise buildings came out. This black one in the background. I think that was the rectangle one. Then they had an
yeah.
octagon. They had a hexagon shape, and they had a square one too.
And if you
Yeah.
guys notice down at the bottom, that retaining wall is completely built from Legos.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Some
I
Lego.
actually just now had to look twice at it to be able to tell, but I just know my Lego pieces. But
Yeah,
that's
man. Yeah, yeah. That's the yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, that's a new brick came out. So yeah. When I seen that, man, I like, oh man, I got to get some gray ones. So that's what I did, man, because I kind of raised that. I raised that whole part of the layout up and used those. I had to figure out what I'm going to use to hide that wood underneath the bottom, and so I use all
yeah.
those little Lego pieces and everything, the little brick Macy pieces and everything. Yeah.
All right, Phil, next slide. All right, so we've
Okay.
got a little playground here. I've seen some of these, I want to say, sold on eBay and some
Oh
different places
yeah,
like that. But are these the 3D printed ones?
yeah. The 3D printed. What's that? The balloon. I mean, the castle balloon jumpers for the
The bounce
kids.
house? Yeah,
Yeah, the bounce house.
that looks actually incredibly believable for N scale. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I got it, man. Like I said, if it ain't in scale, if it's HO, I'm not using it. I'm
no.
using nothing but in scale. Yeah, and I got a little playground. The little playground set that's in scale too, and I got some people flying kites too. Yeah, and how
I know
I
you got
did.
a helicopter flying around too, but I don't think we have any pictures of it, but it's pretty cool too.
Oh, I
Um,
forgot about that one. Yeah, with the helicopter, with the LED, with the I'm sorry, Doc. Next time,
it's
man.
all
Next time.
good. All
Yeah,
right,
next
next
time.
slide,
Yeah.
Phil. All right, so here's a still of just, all right. I know people like, especially I watched Steve Sherrill and Al visit the micro layouts meet this past week. And some of the micro layouts were a third of the size of this in scale carnival. I mean, what is this? 8, 9 feet long?
6 feet, Doc.
6 feet
Yeah.
long? In
Yes.
scale. I'll tell you what, man, you can
And I
fit a.
got and Doc, and I got 14 working rides,
Okay.
except the roller coaster. I don't think I can find a motor that small to get the roller coaster working. But me and my friend thought about a push pull magnet system. You put the magnet like up on the front of the roller coaster, then have
Mhm.
the magnet in the front, and maybe that negative and positive maybe can move that roller coaster going around and everything. So I'm in a process trying to figure that out and everything. You know,
So
yeah.
whatever you do, everything you do in the future, take video of the process of you making it, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
All right, next slide, Phil. More of that. All
Yeah,
right.
more than yeah.
All right, next slide. All right, a little more of the downtown area.
Yeah, downtown area, yeah, with the AMC movie theater. Yeah. Now
Some of
how I
those
got
kit
that
bashes that you did.
AMC theater, that AMC theater, I bought a bag of popcorn. I took the bag home, cut it out, and put it on the building.
That's how you got that sign. That's a good idea.
I got the sign, yeah, I bought a bag of popcorn, you know, yeah. Yeah.
All right, next slide.
The more carnival section, everything, 3D printed
So you got
rides working and everything.
people on the ride and everything. All right.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying is that, to weather those, it would look just amazing to me because they're well built. They're to scale perfectly.
Yes.
If we get some weathering in that, then that would look just unreal, man. And Tyrone, I can't thank you enough for being here tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, you have a layout that is different than most all we ever see. But the fact that it's modular, the fact that it's built on tables that can be moved around and shifted, but you still have all the elements that most everyone else has, I thought it was fitting that you come and share that with us. And the last thing that I'm going to say is that everybody on here had better be really thankful to Tyrone because Tyrone right now is missing his 30th anniversary with his wife to be here tonight to go live to show your layout to you guys. So his two daughters and his wife are probably sitting in the other room right now.
Yeah, they mad. They were like,
upset.
Yeah.
Today is his 30th anniversary with his wife. So
Tyrone, it was nice to know you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Congratulations, Tyrone. I mean, that's impressive. Not only did you marry a woman that stayed with you for 30 years, she does graffiti. I mean, that's like a twofer
artist,
right
man.
there.
Yeah.
Puts up with all of it.
Excellent. So does anyone have any questions for Tyrone here? Tyrone? Any questions, comments?
But my compliments. I mean, mixing the Cato and the Atlas with Legos. I mean, that is just fabulous. I love it.
In fact, I was telling Doc that we had a train show here in California last week, and I've been noticed a lot of people bringing Lego layouts to the conventions. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of train layouts at the conventions down here in California. Yeah.
Tyrone?
The only thing I saw missing were boats. He's got planes, trains, automobiles. Where's the boats?
Now I was Mr. Doc told I don't know if you guys know about the I was at the train show last weekend, and a guy selling what they doing now, they taking old flat screen TVs and they got these little moving boats on the old flat screen TVs and everything, So I think I might want to invest in that system too and everything eventually.
Yeah. Phil wants me to do that too with a 6 foot, river. What you got, Pat?
Tyrone, I want to ask you to do me a favor. If your wife does another one of those cars with a toothpick and that graffiti, please take a video of her doing it and how she does it. I have got to see that.
Definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
That was it's very interesting. The idea of using Legos, especially in N scale, is absolutely brilliant. You get an amazing array of things that you can put together and do, especially for modern structures. And I also thought I was really impressed with the idea of this looking out for baskets at the different places. I remember the name of the Japanese shot, niche Daiso. If you guys haven't ever been to Daiso, if you ever see a Daiso, they have just a whole bunch of stuff that's very interesting. And the idea of using a basket like that for a building, either an N scale or even an HO, is really an interesting way of getting the framework for a building. That's really cool. And I do very much like the idea. I like the idea of getting your signs going to the movie, watching a movie, and then getting the sign out of the movie, because you kind of get a movie for free.
In fact, all my little signs, like I use like Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, all those are ketchup packages. Ketchup packages I went here and used. I brung them home and cut them out and put them on my modern buildings for like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Taco Bell, Wobble Grill, whatever and everything, you know.
You just
Yeah.
became my best friend.
Yeah. A lot of stuff that you guys, I mean, I see today and everything. Like I said, it tripped me out when I did the look when I got my Taco Bell hot sauce and everything. I said, oh man, I'm gonna cut this out and make a little in-scale Taco Bell, you know, in my mug and everything, you know, for my airport, you know. Yeah. But yeah, Doc, I feel bad. I should send you some pictures of the mall inside my airport. You know, yeah. I got a
Tyrone, you're
two-story.
always
Yeah.
welcome back, brother. You're always welcome back. You
Well,
can come back. You know, I'll do another one in a couple months. You can always come back.
Okay, then, no
and
problem.
more than that, Tyrone, you know, we have a Facebook group, New Tracks Modeling Face Group. Just jump on the New Tracks Modeling Face Group and throw a couple of pictures up there, because there are about 1,500 of us. We only get, you know, we get a lot of people that watch this on YouTube later. We typically get 30 to 40 people that come watch it live between YouTube and maybe 50 with YouTube and Zoom. But a lot of us who can't be here on a week like this will go on the Facebook group and talk about what we're modeling, etc. So go ahead and jump in and do that.
Yes,
That,
sir. Well,
I know you're in a different time zone, but anytime you want to come join us, you're always welcome to join. You've got the Zoom login now, so come join us, man. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Well,
Hey, so
absolutely.
that Zoom login is always the same?
We'll
It's
let
pretty
you know.
much always
I'll
the
email
same.
you.
Okay,
We don't change it very often, and I'll have Doc will send you something.
Yeah.
What you can do is on the, and this is by Words for Everyone. If you go to the website, the New Tracks Modeling website, there's actually a place there to register. And when you register there, really the only thing it does is put you on the email list to get these links. And until and unless we get Zoom bombed, we'll continue to just use the same Zoom address. Good news for everybody, you can just use the same Zoom address week to week.
Okay.
Well, thanks.
No problem, guys.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Tyrone. That was absolutely brilliant. Lots of thanks. You know, I think for everyone, you know, the thing that's very interesting about this segment is it talks about how broad the model railroading hobby is, and it really is, to my mind, in the eye of the beholder. Whether you're building, you know, an incredibly detailed, incredibly weathered micro layout, or trying to build a scene that, you know, if you take a picture of it, it can't be told from the real world, or a representation of your view of the world with your model railroad. It really is the beauty of the hobby that it could be what you want and what you like. So again, Tyrone and Doc, thank you very much. And we'll move on now to our next segment, which is Craig Vietch. Craig is going to do a very interesting presentation for us tonight about a scratch-built metal footbridge he's built. So this is kind of interesting. We're going to go from one side of the hobby to another side of the hobby very quickly. But before we have Craig, we wanted to run a little video about the New Tracks Mentoring Scholarship, our scholarship for young model railroaders to support them as they pursue STEAM degrees going forward.
The New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship is the only national scholarship for model railroaders from a volunteer nonprofit organization. For academic year 2025-26, we are awarding 3 $2,000 scholarships for model railroaders pursuing a STEAM degree. We hope to award a similar number of scholarships for the 2026-27 academic year. We believe it is critical to support the next generation of model railroaders. You can support the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship by donating online using the Zephy platform or directly by check. All donations are tax deductible.
Well, Craig, welcome. For everyone who doesn't know, Craig is actually from Australia on the other side of the world. And what beauty of Craig today is, what is it, 10 o'clock there, 11 o'clock in the morning?
It's 11:50 a.m. Thursday.
Wow.
Thursday morning. So, you know, if you ever wanted to find out what's happening in the stock market tomorrow, we can ask Craig and he can tell us because he's already there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put Craig's presentation up. I've seen this. This is really cool. It's, you know, a whole bunch of techniques that I think are great. And actually, I have some places I'd like to use some of them in my layout. So with that, Craig, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you and put your slides up here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Phil. And also, thanks very much for formatting them into the NewTracks slide templates.
More than welcome.
So if we can move. So I'm going to talk about making this Scratchbuilt footbridge. I needed something at the end of the layout to attract people's attention away from the big blue space there. And often people use tunnels or road bridges in these kinds of circumstances, but neither of those were appropriate because I've sort of truncated the station platforms partway along. But a pedestrian footbridge was perfect, and there's some very nice prototype examples from which I drew inspiration. So next slide, thank you. Yeah, so this is actually from the station that I have used as the inspiration for the mainline junction on my layout. So I just want to point out a few of the features of these footbridges. First up, notice the truss-like arrangement of the deck railings and their curved lateral support brackets. There's, 6 there across this front side. And then notice how the lateral supports join under the span railings. So they're effectively single units that go from one railing under the span and up to the other one. And see how the deck actually sits above the span frame, not sort of within it, but above it. And then notice the towers at each end of the bridge, the way in which they're built, and the shallow pitch of the stairways down to the platforms. They're really quite shallow. And finally, you can just see square mesh fitted to the railings there. Next slide. This is an example of another station, 17 miles up the line, and I know Phil wants me to pronounce it. The name of the station is Wallerawang, but it doesn't look like that spelt. And in fact, locals just call it the Wang rather than trying to say Wallerawang all the time. So this bridge runs from the main street of the town across 2 platforms and then across an area that was once the marshalling yard for this really one-time very important junction. But note that unlike the previous bridge, this bridge has a centre railing in that span running horizontally. So let's take a closer look at a part of this one. Next slide. Now this is the span that actually crosses the marshalling yard. And first up, notice that the lateral support brackets are straight this time, sort of part of a triangle. And there are still curved supports on the stairway railings. And there's no centre rail in this span. So even on one bridge, part of it has a centre rail and part of it doesn't. And part of it has curved lateral supports and part of it has straight lateral supports. Another thing I just want to point out is the handrails sitting atop the side railings. We'll come to those on the model in due course. And again, you can just see the mesh fitted to the railings. I'm sort of labouring the mesh on the railings, and we'll see later. And then finally, just notice the way the surface truss on the metalwork interplays with the paintwork. And I've tried to replicate that as I've gone along on it. So next slide. Whilst there are no actual models of New South Wales Government Railways footbridges in HO or any other scale that are commercially available, you can purchase the plans to make one. So obviously I purchased the plans and I started with the towers. And these are made of scale styrene using H section for the verticals, I section for the horizontals, and strip for the diagonals. And you can see there that I cut and squared all the components before I began assembly. That way I could be sure that each of the two towers were as close to perfectly matched as possible. And I might just point out this point. I'm not going to give any material dimensions because they're kind of irrelevant in other, they're unique to each bridge, I guess. And endless reference to dimensions is tedious and cumbersome for all concerned. So next slide. So the next bit was, or the first bit of metalwork was the deck subframe. And at this point, I was still considering whether I would make the superstructure in metal or styrene, but I thought I needed at least a metal subframe to sort of hold the plastic up, because the span from the outer edge of the two columns is nearly 15 inches. So it's quite a sizable distance to hold things up. And even just soldering, half a dozen, 8 pieces of metal together, I rekindled my enjoyment for working with metal. So the span's made of square section brass tube, and the cross members on the span match the location of every second railing support bracket. And probably a note here, because this is not going to be a clinic on how to solder metal together seamlessly. I actually made this bridge during the first COVID lockdowns, and I realised that as I started, I didn't actually have any liquid flux to hand, and I wasn't about to wait goodness knows how long for something to come through the mail. So instead, I just ploughed on with the rosin cord solder that I had, knowing that I'd be doing quite a bit of cleaning up later. But nothing that a mini drill and a selection of cutting burrs couldn't handle. And just a comment on cutting burrs, if you use them in the correct direction, they really bite into what it is you want to cut, and also potentially the metal. If you reverse the direction of them, they cut much less, and then they burnish back, and you get a sort of a polished finish, which is neater and cleaner, and very good for holding paint later. Right, so back to task and the next slide. So now the intricate work began. The spans on the prototype bridges are made up of multiples of sort of 13 feet, 3-inch long sections, excuse me, each with 4 diagonal members, and the diagonals are half a unit apart. And the lateral support brackets eventually will be located at the end of each of these 13-foot, 3-inch units. The plan showed a centre rail in the railings, so I added a centre rail. And the diagonals are brass angle, 1 mil brass angle. And AliExpress was mentioned by Tyrone, where I got the 1 mil brass from. And then the horizontals are square bar. Now, one thing that in making a bridge like this is jigs are about the only way to do it. Trying to hold those tiny pieces of metal in any other way is not worth the effort, and the result will be less than ideal. So the jig holds the horizontal rails at the correct distance, and then it also ensures that the diagonals are consistently spaced and at the correct angle. And after I'd soldered the first 4 in place, I then moved the railing along so that I could fit another pair, and then I just kept moving along until I got the correct length of span. So here we see sort of the first diagonal of the third pair of rail, third pair fitted to the railings. Next slide. So here's the completed span railings fitted to the subframe, and it's starting to look like a bridge. And I went mad with the camera at this point, taking photographs left, right and centre, but I'm not going to burden people with those. Next slide. So the railings that sit above the towers and at the end of the bridge are different dimensions, both in terms of their length and width and also the angle of the diagonals of them. So they were made separately and then soldered onto the span itself. Next slide. Now I decided to use straight railing supports on the spans. You'll recall on one bridge they were curved and on the other bridge they were straight. Again, brass angle was used for these, and again I used a little jig to ensure that the angle of each of the supports was consistent. Next slide. Here we see the lateral support brackets have been fitted along the front side of the bridge, but not at the other side of the bridge at this point, as I hadn't decided whether I was going to butt the bridge up against the wall or offset it by a short distance. Ultimately, I decided to offset it, and part of that reasoning is butting the bridge up against the wall, you immediately got the shadow of the rails really strongly, and it destroyed the illusion of sort of endless space behind the bridge. So just pulling it away, even what was about an inch and a half, gets rid of that railing effect. You can even see it there in the photograph against that backboard. Next slide. And now, as we saw in the prototype photos, the wire mesh fitted to the railings is not easily seen, even from relatively close. But there are also prototype examples of these bridges fitted with chain link mesh. But the model without anything at all looked naked. So I fitted etched brass mesh, which is a little heavy, but not overly so. And in some respects, it helps, again, hide the back seam. Next slide. So having decided to set the bridge away from the wall, I then fitted lateral support brackets to the rear side. And now looking along the length of the bridge, you can see the benefit of using a little jig to make up the brackets. I used nickel silver angle to represent the handrail atop the deck railings. And we see the nickel silver angle on the near end and along the left-hand span rail at this point. The nickel silver angle actually has a thinner cross section than its brass equivalent, which works really well for the handrail appearance. And then you can see that there's a sheet of styrene that I've cut to be the subfloor of the deck. Later, I added scale lumber decking boards along it to give it that nice finish. Next slide. So here's a closer view of the nickel silver atop the railings. And at the back, again, it's not fitted at that point. It's amazing the effect just fitting that angle onto the tops of the railings has, how it tidies up and sort of neatly finishes it. And it's somewhat fortuitous, isn't it, that there's a handrail sitting on top of it. And when you look at the actual prototype ones, I think they're using the handrail as much to do that as I am on the model. And I've also added at this point gussets of 5 thou brass shim under the diagonals where they meet at the top rail. Next slide. So next up were the stairs. Having decided to set the bridge away from the wall, some steps were needed to assist that illusion that the stairways continue off scene. So I made the top 5 steps of each stairway by soldering lengths of brass angle together. And again, I made myself a little jig to hold the brass angle in place. And it's made such that I'm soldering the undersides of the stairs. So the top of the staircase is actually sitting on the base, the balsa base. But the very last piece between the pins is another strip of nickel silver angle. and that will be used to attach the stairs to the span subframe. Right, next slide. So here we see a set of stairs being test fitted before securing, and you can see the nickel silver angle parked over the top of the brass subframe. And I managed to locate some brass C-section, which was to exactly the dimension required to be used for the stringers. And then the top handrail and the inside handrails have been fitted to square section posts. Next slide. So yet another jig. Now, fitting these handrails, which are, I know I said I wasn't going to do dimensions, but these handrails are 0.8 millimeters, effectively 3 scale inches in square in HO scale. Fitting them onto the top of the C-section brass, they needed to be held in place. They need to be held at the right angle. So we made a jig, but the jig is handed. It can't be used to do both sides. And so the pair of timber strips that are going diagonally down to the right-hand corner where the other side of the staircase will be parked to fit its posts. Now, that's easier done than said, so apologies for the convoluted explanation. Next slide. Now, even though there was no room for a full stairway on the layout, I wanted to build one for photographic purposes and to prove to myself that I actually could build a complete stair set. So a full stairway consists of 2 identical sets of stairs split by a short level section, which then necessitated building another short tower, 2 sets of stairs and the level intermediate deck. And the sets of steps were assembled on the same jig as I used for the short ones, simply by making up batches of 5 steps and then soldering 3 of those together to create a 15-step set. And all that was done on a flat surface. And I had a stop point at each end to stop the 3 sections sort of splitting while I was soldering. Next slide. Now, the prototype stairways, as we've seen, have 3 pairs of curved angle iron brackets supporting the side railings. I bent brass angle around a timber former that I'd shaped for the task, and here's a pair of those brackets added to the top section of the stairway. Now, there's almost no way to make a jig to do that, and so that was an exercise in colourful language, let's say. No burnt fingers, but yes, some colourful language. I think my wife was away shopping at the time. Next slide. Now, here's the completed stairway with the top and the inside handrails, curved brackets, and 3 strands of thin phosphor bronze wire to represent the cables that are actually used on the prototype. And down where the little clips are ornamental or decorative posts that are attached to the railings. And I used dressmakers pins, at least the heads of dressmakers pins to top those posts. They've got a little curved decorative head on them. Next slide. Now, most people will know brass isn't an easy material to paint and to get paint to stick to. So I made every effort that I could to ensure the paint would endure. I also had to think about the more paint I put on this, the less likely the brass mesh would look thin. So there was a real balancing act between putting on just enough to get colour and to get a bond with the metal and keeping the mesh nice and open. So first I cleaned the model with a scouring paste. That degreased the metal and also gave it a bit of tooth to which the paint could bind. Then thoroughly rinsed it with water and airbrushed on some isopropyl alcohol, and then continuing with the air until the alcohol had all evaporated. And brass, of course, tarnishes really quickly. So that was part of the reason I air dried the alcohol, so I could then immediately apply a light coat of Vietch primer, and then I left that for at least a day. And then I used solvent-based paint, which is very fine and particularly good at adhering to metal. It's not so good for one's health, but I took all the right precautions. Excuse me. And then I airbrushed the stairway railings white. Notice it's only the stairways, not across the top of the bridge. And then allowed that paint several days to cure. And then I masked all the white areas and airbrushed light coats of weathered black, followed by rust, wet on wet. And that was how I'm getting that effect I showed you on the bridge of the surface rust and the interplay with the paint. Next slide. And so here it is, finished and awaiting the fitting of the deck. And you'll note at this point the short stairways haven't been permanently fitted to the span. Next slide. So the deck rafters and diagonal bracing scale styrene strip glued to the styrene subfloor, and it was all built in situ because of the getting in and around the support brackets, etc. And then again, it was airbrushed and weathered with weathered black and rust, wet on wet. Next slide. Now, when it was all finished and I'd lined it up on the layout, the original towers, one of which is on the left in this photo, just looked chunky compared to the towers in the prototype photos. So I built new towers using slightly underscale pieces, and the finished example of one of those is on the right. And ultimately, on the layout, they look closer to the prototype. And again, same story, airbrushed with weathered black and rust, wet on wet. Next slide. And this is the angle that viewers usually see the bridge on the layout. So you can see through the mesh relatively easily, particularly when it's not doubled up. So when you look over the stairways, the mesh isn't particularly intrusive. And I toyed with fixing a photo of the prototype line curving away into the back seam, but I wasn't able to get the angle just right. I mean, I probably would have had to stand on something spanning the two platforms and between the two tracks to get a photograph. And, well, that's never going to happen, is it? So I think viewers are more liable to ignore a blank blue background than an out of alignment image. So I've stuck with the blue background. So in conclusion, this was a rewarding project for me, and it reminded me just how satisfying it is to work with metal. I hadn't worked with metal since I was scratch-built locomotives years and years ago. So thanks for your attention. And again, thanks, Phil, for formatting the slides for me.
You're muted, Phil.
I am muted. Well, thank you, Craig. That was brilliant. I love the way all the pieces went together, and the final product looks very much like the prototypes. And I thought the idea of that sometimes you actually have to go a little thinner than the prototype so your eye sees things as being proportional was a very interesting observation.
I have one question, Phil. Craig?
Yep. Yes.
You mentioned the name of the product you used to clean that brass. Could you repeat it again? I missed it. Sorry.
Well, I actually didn't mention the name. I just called it a scouring paste. I got a tiny little bottle of it from a car repairman, so I actually don't know the name of it. But I've previously used just a standard household cleaning product that's got a little bit of grit in it. Mm-hmm. And sugar soap also. The issue with sugar soap, of course, is it's quite hard to remove, and particularly from something as delicate as that mesh. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I got it from a spray painter, nice. And just, he ought to just put it in a 10 ml bottle for me. So
beautiful job. One other question: that mesh, where did you get the mesh?
Aha. It's produced by a sort of a local cottage industry person. Kieran Ryan is his name, and he's very big in O scale, both standard gauge and narrow gauge. And he produces many etched brass components for both HO scale and O scale. But it's the finest etched brass mesh I've ever seen.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people use wedding veil for, that
Yes.
kind of. But my thing there was, one, all the shops were closed because of COVID. But two, it's made of material, so it's going to absorb the paint, and so it's going to thicken up. Even if it's only a thou, that's going to make it suddenly look way too thick.
Beautiful job.
Pat, you can get there's some mesh material might not be specifically made of brass, but the same company we keep talking about, AliExpress, that's where I got the N scale mesh that perfectly represents an N scale, and that's 1/160 chain link fence. I got it off that company, and they have smaller versions and larger companies, and it is metal. I mean, it came, and I was worried, but it's very good.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah,
I did order some today from Temu, 148 scale. So if you're looking at on there too.
Or AliExpress, either one.
They're both
If you just look up I don't know, I'll let him say it. I'll let Craig say it, but it just mesh material basically, I think.
Okay.
right.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. Yeah. I found they had a better supply of metal shapes and sections than K&S. I mean, I've always used K&S brass, but the stuff coming out of AliExpress is it's down to 1 millimeter angle. That's I've never seen it that small. And it's beautiful to work with. They had T section, that 1 millimeter, all kinds of stuff. So
I can see me getting involved with AliExpress now besides Temu.
If you wind up using the bridal veil tule cloth, if you use spray starch and starch it, it'll take paint much better.
Oh yeah.
Out of it.
Nice to know.
Thanks.
Check it out, Phil. So that's my finger. So this was a little bit bigger than I needed, or would be a little bit bigger than a chain link fence, but it was to scale to the bridge, but it gets much smaller than this. And that is metal. It'll bend, hold its shape. I mean, that is metal. And it takes paint decently. It's not very easy, but if you work with it, it'll take paint.
Right. So it's not nickel silver then. It's some other metal.
You can't solder it then.
That I don't know. And now you're above my pay grade. I just know it's metal. Yeah.
Yeah. I sweated the brass mesh onto the railings. Just try not to use too many different forms of adhesive when I'm building. So.
Thank you very much, and very well done.
Thank you.
That was absolutely wonderful, Craig. Just a great structure and a lot of great hints and discussion about how to build that. So with that, we're going to move into our next to last segment tonight, which is one of our NewTrax layout visits or layout tours in this case. This comes to us from the National Narrow Gauge Convention last year. So we'll go ahead and look at this, and because it was at the narrow gauge convention, no real big surprise, but it was a narrow gauge layout. I thought this was interesting to see kind of the space that accompanies the layout.
What scale is this again, Phil?
It's HO and HON3.
That's what I thought.
Yep. That was one thing. There were a number of HON3 layouts there in St. Louis, quite an HON3 community. So that was a fairly fun layout to see.
I love the way the background blended in.
Oh, absolutely. It was very well done representation of that part of Colorado. Great to see that in St. Louis and kind of a different part of the world. Before we continue on, just one little quick point. I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance. If you have either your layout or a friend's layout, or if you go on to a regional convention or of some other event where layouts are open, go ahead and take some videos. Take a video and some photos. What you saw there was a video that was probably about 3 or 4 minutes long. It's just walking around. You can do that with your iPhone or your mobile phone, just walking around, and then go back and take some still pictures of the different scenes. If you do that, send me the content. Actually, I'll give you a link to upload it, which works best with the videos. We'll produce a new tracks visit to your layout or your friend's layout. So something that we can all do as a group to have great opportunities for everyone. Well, before we get to our final segment of our meetup tonight, we're going to hear about the next MyBuild coming up in a few weeks. So we have a little video, and then we'll talk with Chris Kors about what's coming up.
Don't miss the monthly New Tracks Modeling MyBuild event. MyBuild is where the modelers of New Tracks show what they have been building. See amazing modeling with some MyBuilds featuring specific topics for modeling. If you would like to have your models included in the MyBuild, please email your modeling photos to chriscourse@railrunner130@hotmail.com. If you are a first-time MyBuild participant, please include a photo of yourself.
Welcome, Chris. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Hey, thanks, Phil. Thanks to everybody that came out to see us at both Amherst and Timonium this last weekend. Both were a great success. So thanks to everybody that came out, and we hope to see more people in the future. So, all right, let's see the MyBuilds. The next MyBuild is February 25th, and it's an anything goes. So whatever you've got, whatever you're working on, please share it with us. That show is February 20, or please have that to us by February 22nd, so we can get it all put into that PowerPoint show. And then coming up in March, we have a challenge, which is rolling stock, and that show will be March 25th. Again, let's see, please get your photos to us by March 22nd. And if you have not participated in the past, please include a photo of yourself, and also please include a description in the event that your camera doesn't work, your audio doesn't work, whatever. That way we can speak somewhat intelligently about what you've got. And also it helps with Jim Kello's MyBuild article. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Phil.
Thanks, Chris. I definitely look forward to that. Always an exciting session there at the next MyBuild. So our final segment of this evening is our friend Steve Bittinger. And so Steve, welcome. Let me get you spotlighted here. And Steve decided it was a great time to have a continued discussion about cabooses, and he's going to talk to us about some of his personal experiences with cabooses on, I believe, the Western Maryland Railroad. So, Steve, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Are we on? You sure? Okay, good evening. I'm back here at the West Virginia Workshop in good old snowy West Virginia. I sent some photos off earlier to Greg Cassidy. I hope Greg's with us.
I'm here.
Okay, so real quick, a little bit of G content. Greg's got a couple photos I took on the layout earlier this morning, actually, that if he has them, he can stick them up there for you. And once again, Greg, we don't see the photos when you do, so you'll have to tell me what's going on.
Okay, I had to unmute. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I've got up the two photos showing the snow that hit your layout.
Right. So last Sunday we got hit with a snow and ice combo, and the one photo there you can see is the Holler and Cement Company, which is knee deep in snow. Probably not going to be open for business and getting any shipments lately. And the second one is looking up the main line with the telephone poles, as you can see in the distance. It gives you a ballpark. Nothing has melted, so the railroad looks just like that, and I think it's going to probably look like that to the end of March. It is just too damn cold. So there you go, a little G-scale content for tonight. All right, talking about cabooses. So last couple of weeks I got into your programming you had on cabooses, and I thought, hey, I'll go back and relate to you. For those of you that don't know me, when I was a young guy a long time ago, I went to work on the Western Maryland Railroad as a car inspector in York, Pennsylvania, in the Lincoln Yards. And that was my first real exposure to railroad equipment up close, even though from my birth, I was on the railroad. My mother was an agent for the Western Maryland. Actually, she was pregnant with me when she went to work for the Western Maryland. So she took some time off and then went back. So my whole life has been with the Western Maryland. I did a little outline, and Greg's got some photos, and I'll let him put the photos up, and I'll just narrate based on what he puts up here initially.
Okay, we got the first one showing wheels and truck frames being prepared for steel cabooses.
Right. So the Reading Railroad was the first to adopt a standard design for the Eastern style caboose, and many railroads copied those, including the Western Maryland. So what they did was at Hagerstown, they took freight trucks and cleaned them up and rebuilt them there at the Hagerstown shops. And that's what we're seeing there. And this is in the mid 1930s. These cabooses stayed in service for a long time. These are the ones that I had personal experience with over the years. So once they were finished, the next thing was frames for the cabooses. And Greg's got a photo of those.
That's up now.
Yes. Bethlehem Steel in Baltimore made the frames. The frames are shipped up to Hagerstown, and the trucks were rolled out of the shop up there, and the frames are dropped right on them just as they arrived. So when a frame arrived, they dropped them on and had them ready. The next step was the bodies themselves. And the bodies for these were made by Magor. Magor is a fabrication company in New Jersey. They actually made the cabooses up, side panels, ends, tops, and roofs. They put them on flat cars and shipped them up to Hagerstown, and they were assembled there. After that, the cars were pulled to Union Bridge, Maryland, and all the interiors, everything that had to be done on the inside was done at the Union Bridge shops, and they were finally finished and put out on the railroad at that time.
We got the completed caboose showing now.
Yeah, so when they got done, what he's put up there, and I don't see it yet at the moment, but anyway, typical caboose, and I've got one here tonight. I guess Steve will tell me if you guys can see it, but this is the standard caboose of the day. These things stayed in service all the way up into probably the 80s.
What they're saying.
Yeah, the one we have up there on the screen, almost the same identical caboose. So I'm going to use this a little bit later to talk about as well. Cabooses changed through the years. Starting in the 50s, they started specifying, either the health departments did, the state did, or the federal authorities did. In 55, these cabooses first got their drinking water systems put inside of it, and they were dispensers, and you had a big tank mounted up along the roof line inside the caboose. That provided the water. They also added, the following year, they added a stainless steel wash basin, and it got a stove, interior stove, not the coal fire ones, but kerosene fire ones. And we also got a table to eat on was added to them in 56. Come up to 1959, and we got the first of the toilets. And these were stainless steel. They were in a compartment. Prior to that, they were allowed to dump the waste direct from the cabooses. After this, they had a holding tank underneath the caboose. In 67, when I went to work for the railroad, that's what we had. We had a regular toilet inside a little compartment. Later on, they provided these blue chemical packets, and the blue chemical packets were added to the toilets as a sanitizing device. And those had a holding tank underneath the caboose body that held the waste, and that was served and treated at the end of each run. Glass was an issue. They started switching over to shatterproof glass in the cabooses as a safety measure. And that was in the mid 60s, probably about 63, 64. Some of the cabooses started coming out with that on them. Then later on, they decided that the glass was so expensive. Cabooses running out of the Baltimore division on Eastern Division, those got wire screen. They had so much trouble in Baltimore with kids and people throwing rocks at the cabooses that that's what they decided to do. I don't have photos up there for you for that, but the ones that we do have pretty much show you the interiors. Now I'll skip up to my first day of work at the Western Maryland. I started in June of 1967 as a car inspector, reported to Lincoln Yards, and I had nowhere to live in York. So the yardmaster up at York, John Flickinger, he said, we know what he said. We got 3 cabooses that lay over here at night from the locals. He said, you're welcome to bunk in any one of those you'd like to. And I said, where'd the crews stay? And he said, well, they stayed downtown at the Yorktown Hotel. And I checked into that. Well, the crews, they got their lodging paid for by the railroad. That was going to come out of my pocket. So I decided to wasn't gonna be much paycheck left if I stayed down there. So I went back out and started sleeping in the cabooses in the evening after they were put on the service track. At York, we had an engine facility, 2 bays, and right behind that we had a caboose track. And that was where locals dropped their cabooses at the end of each day. The through trains, when they come in, those cabooses on the through trains, they went back out at the end of each day. So they were confined to there. They didn't mix them up. They weren't in the caboose pool. And most of the conductors on the locals, we had 3 locals out of Lincoln Yards, they got the same caboose every single run. They didn't switch them up. Everybody sort of had their assigned caboose right in there. So after my 3rd night in the caboose, the weather got super hot in June. And there were no screens on the windows on the cabooses. So what I would do is I just prop the doors open on both ends so it gets some air going through there and get up in the cupola and slide one of the cupola windows open, try to get a draft. The only trouble with that was right next door to the caboose track was a siding that ran into Medusa Cement Company. And they had a rotary kiln that ran 24 hours a day. And I think the boys sort of like trying to sleep through a hailstorm. So I decided I needed to give up my caboose lodging, and I eventually found an apartment downtown in York next to the fairgrounds. So my sleeping in cabooses ended at the end of that week. But I learned a lot about it while I was in there. You start to appreciate the type of cushions and all they gave you in there. The cushions we had long bunks on one side of the caboose, and we had short bunks on the other side, and then you had an upper bunk. And the one picture that you saw there, you could see the upper bunk above it. I slept on the lower bunk, and I had robbed the cushions off of one of the others, and that would be my pillow. I just tilt that up against the end wall, and that worked out pretty nice. And I could stay in there till about 6:30 in the morning when the hostlers came out to get them ready for the day. They get the engines ready first, the 2-yard engines, and then either one of the trainmen or a hostler would come over and make sure everything was equipped up that we needed for the day. I also say that Western Maryland's cabooses were really well cared for compared to some of the other railroads. The Reading and the Western Maryland interchanged their cabooses, and those crews all really did a good job taking care of them. I can't say the same for the Pensy cabooses. Pensy had the worst cabooses, and that was right in the year when Pensy was just about ready to go bankrupt. And you could tell that things are pretty tough. The train crews, if we had cabooses that went across the interchange, which didn't happen very often except when Pensy rented extra cabooses, those things would come back and they'd be missing half the stuff that was in them. I mean, they'd take the ice boxes out of them. It would be missing. So that was the last thing you wanted, was to get a Pensy rented caboose come back over, because they ended up in the shops, really. Pensy got some big bills on the Western Maryland for some of that stuff. Steve's got a list that I made for him. And if he was a hostler, I'll have him start reading off some of the things that he has to check off to make sure that's going to be in that caboose before it leaves that morning.
Some of the things the hostler would have to make sure that there was an adequate supply for the day was a broom. One of their responsibilities was to also clean up the car. They'd have a mop, they'd have bars of soap, they would make sure there was plenty of paper towels for the crews. They had paper cups and toilet paper. That was the #1 item. Okay.
The conductor would walk right back out of the caboose and it didn't have toilet paper. That was a no-go.
Soft. They'd also have the red flags, the fuses, the torpedoes. They'd be responsible for that. They had to go in the box and make sure they had enough torpedoes for the day. And they'd also had to make sure they had plenty of rags, wiping rags. They would usually come in a bundle, and they had to wipe off various fittings, and they had to make sure they had plenty of those. They also had to check the kerosene level.
The stoves that we had in there, that was in that one picture, those stoves replaced the coal stoves, and they were either kerosene or they had fuel oil. I don't know how many people ever noticed this or not, but on the outside of the caboose, and I'll use this as an example, on this caboose.
You can't see it. You still got the pictures.
You still got the pictures up, Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah, you still had 2 pictures to go. You want me to pull them down?
No, go ahead and put them up. I didn't know you did.
Okay, yeah, you got the 2 lanterns.
Go. Okay, stop right now and go to the lanterns, because Steve has that in his list, and I'll show you something if you put that lantern photo up.
Yeah, I got that up.
Okay, you're looking at 2 different kind of lanterns there. You're looking at a kerosene lantern and you're looking at a battery lantern. So what they did was the shops, Hagerstown shops, they took those kerosene lanterns, took the guts out of them, and if you look, the caps on the top are different. When you look down inside, you'll see one is a more larger square space. The battery ones had 2 6-volt batteries that you opened the top of the lid and you dropped those batteries in there, and they stood one on top of the other. Those were good for about 12 to 18 hours before they had to be recharged. Hagerstown Yard had a shed that they built down at the end of the yard. And that's where, when the crews got done at the end of the day, it was either the conductor or one of the trainmen's responsibility. You took the batteries out, took them down and put them on the charging shelf. Or one of the trainmen come up that was going to service it, took them out and put the fresh ones in. So that's what you see in those 2. And after we take the picture down, I'll show you another type of light that used those same 6-volt lanterns.
And Steve, the other picture is the 2-way radio.
Okay, so about early 50s, 55, 56 in there, they started with the radios. Now, the one I have the photograph of, that's a later model Motorola unit. The first ones, the radios were attached to the wall in the caboose, and they were stationary. And there was a big alternator underneath the bunk, and down underneath the frame, there was an 8-inch rubber wheel that was on a spring-actuated arm, and that rode against the wheel, so that when the caboose was rolling down the tracks, the alternator was making the current, charging the batteries, and the batteries ran the radios. The radios had an antenna that ran up the cupola wall and out onto the roof, had a 14-inch antenna up top there. Later on, the one you have in the photograph, that's the Motorola portable version. That's got a battery on the bottom of it. You can pick that whole unit up, and the conductor can pick that up, exit the caboose, and go out and stand on the ground and talk to the head-end crew, the engine crew. He doesn't have to be inside the caboose talking to them. When you brought that back up and you set it in the cradle, that put it back up to getting charged again.
Okay, you're live again.
Okay, that's the last of those.
Never can see your caboose.
So moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about some other things. Steve is into things there. So you have expendable items as well, paper items. And I know, Steve, you got on the list some of that.
You got to have stationery. The conductor had blank waybill forms, bed order forms, car placards, and clipboards. Now, these were usually placed in a rack, so it was easy to identify the supply level.
Different railroads had different interiors in their cabooses. Along about 1968, they came up with the caboose pool. Now, the pool, what that meant was that railroads could now run cabooses straight on through, and you didn't have to change the cabooses out at the end of the train when you changed railroads. This merely made it much simpler. It eliminated switching operations. For example, Hagerstown to Rutherford Yard in Harrisburg, that's Hagerstown running at Western Maryland up the Pennsylvania line, then over into Pennsylvania with Reading equipment. So a Reading crew could run from Harrisburg to Hagerstown in their caboose all the way through. The caboose would get serviced at Hagerstown. Hagerstown had 5 caboose tracks, and there was a reason for that, because they serviced the cabooses for the Norfolk and Western, for the Pennsy, for the B&O, and the Reading, all at the Hagerstown facility. So they had to have a lot of tracks. Like I said, Lincoln, we had 1 track, they had 5. So the pool made it necessary that everybody kind of get on a standard pattern for what was going on. So they came up with a list of all the criteria that would be in pool cabooses. So when you if you're doing an operating session on your railroad, for example, you could designate certain cabooses. These are pool cabooses. They're the only ones that can run a certain route. We had non-pool cabooses. A lot of the branch lines had those. They didn't have all this stuff inside that pool cabooses did. West Virginia had the lowest standards for cabooses. So consequently, there were cabooses that only operated on the Elkins Division down in the mountains. They never ran up to Cumberland and got over onto the main line because those did not have the equipment that the Pennsylvania and Maryland type cabooses had. And let's switch topics here to kind of back to our red caboose here. This one, number 1816. 1816 was one of 4 special cabooses. These are military cab cabooses. There were 4 of these. They were built and assigned to the U.S. Army Depot at Culbertson, Pennsylvania. And you're going to say, you never heard of Culbertson, Pennsylvania, and I don't blame you. But Culbertson, Pennsylvania, and I have a map that was issued at that time. This is on the Lurgan subdivision, and that runs from Hagerstown towards Harrisburg. And I don't know if Steve can get it on here or not, but I'm going to trace it for you with my pen and show you that here we have Hagerstown, and here we are going all the way through to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, red being Western Maryland, black is the Reading. And right here at this position is Culbertson. Culbertson was the interchange with the U.S. Military Railroad, and the U.S. Military Railroad was built in 1941 after Pearl Harbor. They built a 25,000 acre Army supply depot there, the largest one in the United States. They had their own railroad. And I somewhere, I think that's that. Oh, wrong side. So Letterkenny had 5,000 employees in its heyday, a 25-mile railroad around the base, and about 100 sidings. This is one of their transportation brochures from the Letterkenny Army Depot. At Letterkenny, they had high priority shipments, and they had what they called explosive type equipment there. And most of the explosives shipped out of there were black powder and ammunition. So even back then, they were concerned about something in terms of terrorists, somebody getting to those explosives, the cars. That's why they had these military cabooses. So when a shipment was going to be made, cabooses were brought from Hagerstown to Culbertson. They would open the gates into the base. The switcher from the base would come out, get the cabooses, usually 2 of them, take them inside. They had Army personnel assigned to them, and there was usually 2 to 4 men in a caboose. And normally 1 caboose ahead of the shipment and 1 caboose behind it. And typical would be 3 to 4 boxcars in between them, filled with ammunition or black powder. So one day, my mom worked there as a freight clerk at that time. I had come in, I had just got my driver's license. I was like 16 years old. I was junior in high school. And here was Horace Grayson. He was the car inspector there. He had just walked in. He was carrying an inspection placard. They look like these. This is a military inspection placard for a shipment. And that particular car is a Southern Railway boxcar. It was being assigned, and he had inspected that and verified there was nothing in that car that could rub, chafe, or in any way damage the shipment that would cause an explosion. So before Mr. Grayson released these cars, nothing was loaded into them until those certificates were completed, brought over to the station. One of these stayed at the Western Maryland station, and one across the highway to the Army's yardmaster over there, and he received a copy of the placard. So back on my visit that day, I said to Mr. Grayson, see, I'd really like to see one of these military cabooses. It was about a half-mile walk up the tracks. And he said, well, Steve, he said, you decided to go up there. He said, you need to stay about 200 feet away. They're going to shoot you. And he said, you better just be careful if you go up there. So I was never one to kind of shy away. So I decided I was going to walk up there anyway. So I did. I made the trip up, and sure enough, they had brought the train out, the caboose, and 4 boxcars and another caboose on the rear. And the sun that day was just behind the train. I still picture this, and everything was in shadow. As I got probably the last 250 feet, I saw this guy come out on the end platform with a rifle standing there. And I thought, I think he's sending a message. So I think this is as far as I'm going to go today. And I'll head back out of there. The other type of military shipments that came out of there were also what you would call landmines and grenades. And that was typical of a shipment that would have guards on them. So once the guards were on the trains, the first through train that came in, be it east or west bound, they would stop the train, they would switch that caboose and those cars into the train, and those fellows would stay on that the entire trip wherever it was going to. Eastbound was typically Port Covington and Baltimore, or down to Norfolk was another run. So that's why they would have 4 men so they could work in shifts. The guards would stay in the military cabooses and they'd work shifts, so somebody was on duty all the time. So I don't know that history of these military cabooses has ever been really well told to people, and that's mostly because it's kind of a unique situation, not everywhere. Now, Greg showed you a picture of lanterns, caboose lanterns converted from kerosene over to battery. There was another type that we had also, and I have one of those on my cab. That's this right here. This one works on the same mechanism. This is a rear flasher unit that hung on the railing on the back of the caboose. It has a bracket right here on the back side that hangs over the railing. If I pull this clip here, that allows me to access inside. And if we look inside, you'll see here's the compartment for those same 2 6-volt batteries that we're using on the caboose lanterns. So the charging all the batteries are interchangeable, but whether they were on a caboose lantern or on this safety type flasher, here on the side there's a little button. If I push this, this will activate the flasher, and it flashes about every 2 to 3 seconds intermittently. And this was added to the rear of the trains. It's kind of the forerunner of the end of train device, really, in some ways. But this was just one additional device. And they actually tested these things outside of Hagerstown. The goal was, could you see them from 1,000 feet away? The answer was yes, you could. They did different size lenses. This is a 5-inch. They had a 4 and I think a 6, and they ended up at this size. It said it reflected the greatest amount of light from the furthest distance out of there. So just something a little different in the way of lanterns. And one last item, and I don't know how many of you ever heard of Caboose art, but most of the conductors and everybody, they fixed the cabooses up inside to suit themselves, and they just left their stuff in there, in the lockers and stuff from time to time, extra clothes and shoes and gloves. Some of the guys that bring in and cook different things on the stoves, some of them were pretty good cooks. Other ones plastered all sorts of stuff around in there, and that was what the caboose art was. And I can tell you, I can show you this, but you can't really use it. But this is typical caboose art. And these are called flip calendars. And I know this one's from 1965. It was probably left behind in the caboose, but most of those probably haven't survived these days. But I happen to keep some of these from my days when I was a young lad. So,
holy moly.
And Steve, you better only risk one eye looking at that.
That's enough, Steve.
Ouch.
That's it for you on cabooses and my experiences. And
wow.
Any questions about what happened in those years, I'll be glad to talk to you about.
Yeah, Steve, I have a question. You said 1816 was one of 4 military cabooses. What are the other numbers?
Don't ask me.
Okay, I take it back.
So here's what happened. So the cabooses disappeared. 1816 was the last one left out of all of those. There was a reason for that, is because starting about 1964 or 65, because that's when I graduated from high school in 65, so I can relate. The Army, the U.S. Army, started having their own cabooses. They didn't use the railroad's cabooses anymore. They had their own units. So Western Railroad phased them out, and these cabooses went right back into regular pool service.
Steve, put that picture down.
Hey, man,
What's he say?
Father Ron, you still here?
Bittinger, you better make sure that's still there when he leaves.
You know, the thing of it is, it's you pick up, if you can see.
He's fascinating. I should let him have it.
Oh, you can't see it now, but if you, it's not bad. Some things never get old.
Some things never get old. That's
Just
right.
we get old, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So interesting was that these 1936 era cabooses, some of them got sold off. You know, some of them got wrecked and damaged. I would say by about 68 to 69, they were selling them off to other railroads. We probably had 75 to 85 cabooses in service, I'm thinking at that time. And that number went down considerably when they started to pool. They probably cut 20% of the cabooses out. They didn't need them anymore.
Steve, what was the Caboose book you were showing me before?
Oh, yes. Dwight Jones did a really good book on Western Maryland. Greg's familiar with it. And there's a sequel, and he did a little extra add-on to it later. So,
an addendum.
Yeah, an addendum to it. So if you're interested in these are just about, that book is just about Western Maryland.
Do you have the book to show?
We had it here earlier.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, we have it here. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is it right here. That's the book. It's still, I guess it's still in print. I think the gift shop, Western Maryland gift shop, you can still get this.
They're not seeing it.
They're not seeing it.
Oh, you'll get it in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah, book, yes.
It's really interesting inside. It's really a good book.
It's well done. It's a very good book. Yes.
Lots of pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Big print.
I actually, I had lots of photos. When I was a car inspector, they gave us Polaroid cameras. That's what we used. And unfortunately, Polaroids didn't hold up. My Polaroids, I got threw most of them away because they just deteriorate. They kind of get this yellow, murky thing, and then they just kind of fade away. So unfortunately for my days on the railroad. Also, I will tell you, when you work at a job like that every day, you don't always think to take pictures because to you, it's just an everyday thing. It's nothing special. I regret that now because I have it in my head, all these things, but I don't have pictures.
I have a question, Steve.
Yeah.
Did they give you, when you got paid, what day of the week did you get paid?
We got paid by mail. The checks came in the mail.
The checks came in the mail.
Yes.
Okay.
We got our checks. We didn't.
You don't have one of those that you can show us.
And I cashed all my checks. If you were at Hagerstown, for example, you got your paycheck across the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also depends on the type of job you have. You know, it's a little bit different. I mean, I work by myself. Car inspectors work alone. I didn't like that. It's dangerous. Stuff can happen to you and nobody knows it. People don't know you're there working. You do a lot of training. My first 2 weeks of training was almost all safety training. How to not get killed, how not to get your legs chopped off, how not to have a boxcar cut your arm off, this type of stuff.
Wow.
That was outstanding, Steve. Really great info. I thought because you guys all talked a little bit about the military cabooses, this was an interesting example of what they are today. So this is one of those nuclear waste guarding cabooses. Actually run today when they transport nuclear waste. So they still have those kind of heavily guarded cars that you see with gun slots on the side and designed to protect a train moving nuclear waste back to the recycling places, which are up in Idaho for the Navy, for example.
So
that was interesting.
Those are manned by military individuals?
I think they're manned by Navy. I think they're Navy personnel that man these. They're armed protect the trains. If you go look it up, you'll find that there are trains with the nuclear waste when they move it. So that's a very modern version of a caboose, probably much more modern than any other caboose ever created.
Yeah. I've seen those in transit. Actually, the first time I saw them, I didn't know what they were exactly.
Well, anyway, thank you guys very much. Really appreciate it. That was an excellent session. Before we close tonight, I did want to just cover two things. I totally forgot for our layout tour that, as I said, was done at the National Narrow Gauge Convention, and thanks to Jeff Jordan, Tom Farrell, and Rich Jorgensen for taking all the photos in that. We did layout tours together, and they took the photos. I want to make sure that everyone knows they did that. One little note for those that have been in the hobby for a while, if you have not heard, Bob Brown, the long-term editor of the Narrow Gauge and Shortline Gazette, he actually started that magazine, and I think for 51 or 52 years was the editor of the magazine, passed away on Sunday. I talked to Charlie Getz, and he says that the Narrow Gauge Gazette will be in great hands. Kevin Udaley from the Whitewater will be the new editor, and it will continue. But have your thoughts for Bob and his number of years to the hobby and what he's done. So with that, we're reaching the end of our program. We always close our program with Father Ron. We spent the day today talking about all of the ways we replicate the real world through what we do. And Father Ron, just a little invocation for us about that world and all of us.
Master Maker of the universe, our scale models imitate your creative spirit, and we learn the genius of your handiwork. Teach us to appreciate all you have made. Amen.
Hey, thank you, Father Ron. As those of you might have noticed last week, I totally goofed up and didn't have Father Ron give an invocation. And just so anybody doesn't know that sometimes God gets angry when you make a mistake like that, I had a heart attack on Friday, so maybe directly related to that. So thank you, Father Ron. We look forward to seeing you next week. And Father Ron's putting together some segments on a model he's building, so we look forward to that also. So that brings us to the end of our program for this evening. We're going to close as we normally do with a caboose. This is a caboose that I thought was really interesting because it's something we all know happens all the time on a railroad, but most of us don't know how it actually gets done. So this is, I think, a very interesting caboose.
This is all it takes to put a derailed train back on track.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening and tuning in. And with that, we'll bid you all adieu and say good night.